to our online public lecture series. So my name is Eileen Gibney. I'm Director of the Institute of Food and Health, and I'm delighted to welcome you to what is the first talk in our 2025 public lecture series in food and health. So we put on these lectures to provide you with really up-to-date information on topics in the area of food and health that we know are a real interest to the wider public. So tonight's lecture is on the topic of food waste and the circular economy, and all that goes with that in trying to move towards a more sustainable living, which is needed. And I'm delighted to see so many here attending today, even on this lovely evening in Dublin. So I hope the sun is shining where you are also. So I'm going to, without further delay, introduce our two speakers for this evening, Dr. Simona Grasso and Professor Tom Curran. So Simona is Assistant Professor and an Ad Astra Fellow here in Food Science and Nutrition at UCD. She's a food scientist by background with both a BSc and MSc in Food Science from the University of Catania and then a PhD from UCD. And Simona's research spanned the development, characterization of new foods that are both nutritious and sustainable. And her work covers all steps of product development, from recipe development and prototype manufacturing to food characterization, sensory analysis, and consumer studies. So Simona will speak first, but after that, Tom will speak. And Tom is an associate professor in the School of Biosystems and Food Engineering, and he's also vice principal for internationalization in the College of Engineering and Architecture here in UCD. And Tom's research interests include waste management and air quality, and often with a significant focus on food in terms of waste management. And he leads a very large Horizon Europe project, which is a European project called Bio, which is looking at innovative education on the bioeconomy and has 15 partners across 10 European countries, so he's kept very busy. He is also a funded investigator in the Bioorbic Research Ireland Centre for the Bioeconomy. So I'm really looking forward to both our talks on the topic today of food waste and circular economy. So during the talk, if you have any questions, can you add them to the Q&A tab that you can see at the bottom of your screen? We'll then take all of those questions and address them at the Q&A session at the end of both of the talks. Okay, so I'll moderate that and provide those questions to both of our speakers, and we'll have a good discussion after the two talks. Okay, so I'm delighted to welcome you all, and I'm going to hand over to our first speaker, Simona, who's going to share her slides and chat to you guys now.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Thanks, Eileen. Can you see my screen? Yeah,
we can indeed.
Perfect. Okay. So, well, good evening, everyone, and thanks to the Institute of Food and Health for inviting me, and to everyone else that has joined the session. So I will basically give you a quick introduction to upcycled foods, and then talk about some challenges and some opportunities. So this is the structure of my presentation. So there will be an introduction where I talk about the needs, the definition, and give some examples. Then I will show you some of the research work that I've carried out so far. And I'll conclude with some of the challenges, so some of the unanswered issues that I think are still out there. I will then finish with a call to action for everybody, giving hopefully some tips to make our diets a little bit more sustainable and more circular. So first of all, why is there a need for upcycled food? Because simply we're just not very sustainable. We're not very efficient in the way we basically we produce our food and then we use it. So this has resulted in the fact that in the past few decades, we have been losing about a third or more of the food that we produce. And this is a shocking statistic, but unfortunately, it is the way it has been for the past number of years. So the idea is that we try to move away from a linear economy where we take, we make, and we dispose, and move towards something that we describe as circular economy. So we make, but we also use, and then we recycle. So we try to keep things in the loop as much as possible. If you see here on the right-hand side, there is the Environmental Protection Agency wasted food scale. And as you can see, it goes from the dark green all the way to pink. And this is basically the list of the most preferred to the least preferred actions to reduce the environmental impact of wasted food. So as you can see in dark green is the most preferred is obviously preventing. Okay, so we should try to only produce and use what is really needed. But then the second option there is donating, so recirculating, repurposing, and upcycling. Okay, and this is what I will be talking about today. The other options then are further down the wasted food scale, so things like feeding animals or composting or anaerobic digestion. These are all options, but they are less preferred compared to the first two. So the definition of upcycled food then. Upcycled foods are defined by the Upcycled Food Association as ingredients that otherwise would have not have gone for human consumption, but are still procured and produced using verifiable supply chains and that have a positive impact on the environment. So this definition has been created by the Upcycled Food Association that is started this movement in the US. It is quite general, as you can see. There is the Upcycled Food Association has set this minimum amount of upcycled ingredients to be used at 10%. So in order for a food to be called upcycle, you need about 10% of upcycled ingredients. And it does include a range of different ingredients. So it includes both food industry byproducts. So I have there the example of the orange peels. So we make orange juice, we're left with the peels. So that's a food industry byproduct. But that also includes what we call wonky or imperfect fruit and vegetables. The ones that are pictured here, they're quite different from what we usually see in the supermarket. So it's basically everything that doesn't really fit into the cosmetic standard of retailers. It could just be simply something that is slightly too big or slightly too small. It doesn't have to necessarily be looking like that. I'll give you some examples of products that are available in the US. So the US has been the first country really to start this. So they have the widest range of products as well available. So the can on the top left is a drink that is made with upcycled whey, and whey is a byproduct of the dairy industry. Then there is a Tetra Pak there, and that's a vegetable broth made with discarded peels and other vegetable byproducts. Then in the middle, there is a bread that is made with, I think it is brewer spent grains. Then there is another use of brewer spent grains there in the milk, what is called their barley milk, plant-based. So the leftover from the beer industry. Then at the top right, there is the okara flour, and okara flour is the leftover from soy milk production that can be dried and then turned into a flour to be used in baked goods. At the bottom, again, brewer spent grains, and there is the pulp chips there. Those are chips that are made with the pulp that is left after we make juice. They're turned into chips. And then the last two products there, the bottom right, they're made with one with cocoa fruits and one with coffee fruit, because what we use for coffee or for chocolate is only a small part of a bigger fruit that is actually thrown away. So in this case, they're using them to make bites or to make tea. In the UK, there's also some examples of upcycled food. One of them is toast ale. It's basically a beer, and that is made with some bread. So basically, when we make beer, we ferment the sugars that are in the could be barley or could be wheat. So a part of the barley or the wheat is substituted with leftover bread from the bakeries. So the yeast ferments the sugar in the bread and turns it into alcohol. And what is interesting about toast is that they've made the recipe available worldwide so that other breweries can follow the same thing elsewhere. In the middle, there is a range of chutneys that is called rubies in the rubble. Rejuice uses apples that, again, are a bit imperfect, that otherwise would have not gone into retailers. And then on the right-hand side, there is Nibs, and that is a company I have I have personally worked with to develop some of their products. In this case, this is a granola, and they make that using apple juice pulp. So they cover the oats with a fresh apple juice pulp, and that also helps to give a little bit of sweetness, and it's a very nice product. In Ireland, there is one company that is called Biosol, and they have developed a range of products using brewer spent grains. And so at the bottom, there's the grains there as they are. They're just milled in different sizes, and they can just be used as a topping, for example, for your porridge, or they can be used in smoothies. But there's also oat bites and baked mixes like the pancake mix, and they also have a granola made with brewer spent grains. So here I've given you some examples of products that are already out there. I'll show you now a little bit about my research on these topics. So I've obviously done some research work on the upcycling. I've worked on the byproduct of the sunflower seed. So if we start from sunflowers, we would make sunflower oil, but then the byproduct of that is a product called defatted sunflower seed cake. And that could be just thrown away, or sometimes it is used as animal feed. But again, it is about upcycling it back into human consumption. So these can be dried, can be treated, and can be turned into flour. And then this flour can be used for for human consumption. So I have, I'm going to show you here two applications I've done. So one is on biscuits and one is on muffins. So the first application I did was basically by replacing some of the wheat flour with the sunflower byproduct at two different inclusions. These resulted in biscuits that had higher protein, that had a higher antioxidant content. They were also quite dark and they were quite hard. The more of this byproduct you include, the more you tend to have off notes and off flavors. So again, it's about finding the right balance. Similar thing with muffins. So I replaced some of the wheat flour with this sunflower byproduct, 15% and 30% reduction. And this resulted in muffins that were higher in protein, that were high in fiber, mineral content as well was quite high. Again, they were darker. You can see there the color difference. And in terms of structure, they were slightly higher. They had more pores. And again, there were some off notes, but these were kind of still manageable with the 15% inclusion. In terms of mineral content, you can see here how both with the 15% and the 30% inclusion, we can make several nutrition claims for several minerals, so magnesium, copper, manganese, phosphorus. So it's a little bit like a fortification in this case. Here you can see basically the amino acidic profile of these muffins. And the only thing I want you to look at is the circles in red, where you can see how there's been kind of a dramatic increase in both non-essential and essential amino acids. So it not only has increased the protein content, but also the quality of the protein that is better now. I then did some work on consumer studies and surveys, and this was partly because I was interested in it, but also because it was the period of under COVID lockdown, so there was not much lab work that we could do. So in this case, we did this mock packaging of these biscuits, and then we played around with those attributes that you can see there on the table. So two different price level, either a cheap price or a high price, two different types of flour, so either complete wheat flour or some addition of upcycled flour. Protein, we either gave no information on the protein or we said that the product was a source of protein. And then finally, the carbon trust label. So we wanted to put an environmental kind of label on the product. So either there was no label or there was a carbon trust label. So we prepared this mock packaging and we provided this to consumers, and we asked them, whether they would buy these or not. And this is the results. Again, I don't need to go into the specifics. I just want to explain to you that we found three main groups of consumers. So we managed to segment the group into three. So we had the first group that we call the traditionalists. Basically, they were the people who didn't want anybody to mess with their biscuits. So they liked their wheat flour and they didn't want that to be changed. Then in the middle, we have the price sensitive because they just wanted biscuits to be cheap, so they didn't want that to change. And then finally, we had environmentalists. So this was the group that basically was more inclined in a way, and also the one that was most favorable towards the carbon label. So again, maybe this would be the best group to target. And then the second consumer study was on 430 UK consumers. And here we just tested the effect of information. So either we provided no information whatsoever, or we provided nutritional information, so benefits about the protein content, or environmental information. So we said that these biscuits with upcycled ingredient would have a reduced carbon footprint. Or the fourth option was about having both. So both the nutritional information and the environmental information. And again, we try to understand what had a better effect. So in general, information was positive, okay? Regardless of the information, participants were always willing to pay a premium price if you told them something about it, which makes sense. There didn't seem to be much difference really regarding the type of information. So providing environmental information had the same similar result as to providing nutritional information or both. And again, in the red circles, you can see how no information was kind of more negative, and then by providing the information, we go more onto the slightly more positive side of things. And then the last consumer study I will talk about is a survey. And in the survey, I wanted to compare attitudes between the US and China. And the reason why I chose these two countries was because the US, as I said, they are the first country, the kind of the more open in a way. And then China, because I thought that would have been quite different from a cultural perspective, but also they're quite good in terms of upcycling in China compared to other countries. So I did a co-creation survey where I asked consumer about their preferred byproducts, their preferred upcycled food, and which combinations they would go for. And I also asked a series of questions about their knowledge and their definition and so on and so forth. And this study was funded by the Upcycled Foods Foundation because I was a fellowship a few years ago. So I just wanted to show you the willingness to try, which I think is interesting. So you can see there US and China. The US is quite positive. Most of them would, or definitely would. They're both in green, most people. In China, there's more on the orange side, but still quite positive. Then we asked what would be the top byproducts you would like us to use. And it's interesting how there's some similarities, but also some differences. So in the US and in China, the first option was spent grain and cereal, so more or less kind of similar byproducts. And then in the US, it was cereal and vegetables at the same second place. In China, it was more fruit and dairy, so there's more interest in those two categories. In terms of the top upcycled food, so we asked what kind of upcycled food you would like us to develop. Again, similarities in the US and China, they both said breakfast foods as the first option, snacks as a second option, but then different third option. The US went for pasta and China for dairy food again. So there is, again, an interest in dairy. And then finally, we asked, okay, if you had to come up with a combination, which combination would you go for? And here there were more differences. So in the US, they went more for spent grains in snacks, or vegetable in soups, or fruits in snacks, while China was more about the fruits, just in different applications, so either in snacks or breakfast foods or drinks. The current work that I'm doing is on consumer co-creation with Irish consumers. So we are doing a series of activities, so focus groups, surveys, then there will be new product development and sensory tests. And this is to understand what consumers think about upcycled foods, and are there any combinations that will be preferred. So we want to hear from consumers before we develop something. So I'll go now on to the third and last part. That is about the challenges. So first of all, we need to ask ourselves, are upcycled food really going to be more sustainable or better for the environment? And the only way to answer this is by try to measure this in some way. And this is usually done with a life cycle assessment. So we want to measure the environmental impact of an upcycled food versus a conventional food, and that will tell us which is which. Other challenges are related to consumers. So what do these definitions mean? How does this even translate in different languages? Because this phenomenon is taking place in different countries. Do people understand the concept? Do they trust it? Do they value it? And then what kind of information is more important to give? Is it the sustainability? Is it the nutrition? Or is it both? There's also challenges related to the supply chain, because a lot of these byproducts are wet and therefore they're not very stable. They don't last for a very long time. They need to be dried. And here I have an example of the apple industry. So if we do produce the juice, apple juice, then we are left over with the pulp. What do we do with the pulp? Is it the same company that produces the juice that will take the initiative to add value to that pulp? Or will it be a separate company that will take these byproduct and will try to valorize it? And sometimes these productions are seasonal. So will that will there be enough material for that company to work on all year round, or how will that work? Another challenge is legislation. So as I said, the US is a bit more liberal than the EU. In the EU, we have something called the Novel Food Regulation. And that means that we're quite strict, especially for new foods that have not been around for a long time, whether those ingredients can be used into new foods. And this is obviously to safeguard consumers, but that also means that it kind of slows down a little bit innovation and ability for companies to introduce new foods and new ingredients. So in this case, I have here the example of a protein isolate from sunflower seed is considered to be novel, but a protein concentrate from peas is not considered novel, just because one was already available in the 90s, while the sunflower seed was not available in the 90s. So it has to go through that regulation, which means a regulatory burden. But essentially, they are protein concentrates. Okay, so they're obtained in a similar way. So the final challenge is basically making sure that obviously manufacturers use this concept correctly, not just for self-promotion, and with a real meaning behind it. And as I said, the Upcycle Food Association gives the certification. If you use about 10% of upcycle ingredient, we have to ask ourselves whether that is enough, whether consumers think that will be enough. Because let's say for a food that is organic, that percentage will be 95%. For something that is considered as organic. So there's quite a difference there. So it is important to think about the label. So I want to leave with a call to action. So if you want to try to be a little bit more circular in the way you eat, or include more sustainable options, what to do. So the Biosalt products are obviously sold in Ireland. They can be found in major retailers. So if you want to take a laid back approach, you can simply try to purchase this next time. There is the Olio and the Too Good To Go apps. These are great. You just have them on your phone. And in Olio, you can just share even with neighbors. So let's say you are going on holiday and your fridge is full of food. You don't want to throw it away. You just put it on Olio, and a random neighbor can come over and pick up your food. So you avoid wasting it. Too Good To Go is more tailored towards restaurants and cafes. Similar concept. At the end of the day, the cafe puts up sandwiches, whatever they have left over, and you pick it up for a few euros. Reduce to clear items. Some supermarkets are better than others at reducing their items in the morning. So again, something else to do. A lot of people do these collecting the vegetable peels. Every time they prepare for a stew, they keep the peels, they put them in the freezer, and when they have a big bag, then they make some veggie stock. An interesting approach if you eat meat is the nose to tail approach. So try to eat all of the edible parts of the animal. So rather than just buying your chicken fillet, buy the whole chicken, cook the whole chicken, and take advantage of the bones, take advantage of all the flavor. Or even offal. Everybody eats steak, but when we produce meat, it's not just steak. There's also liver. There's also offals, and they're extremely nutritious, extremely cheap as well. So it's a good alternative if you do eat them. Finally, bananas. I have some recipes there if you follow the QR code. You can freeze them, put them away for later use, or bake with them. And if you bake with them, you don't have to use a lot of sugar because it's naturally sweet. So that kind of helps as well. In the QR code, you'll find the link as well to a new Massimo Line open course that has been launched on how to reduce food waste. So that's the end of my presentation. I'll pass it now on to Tom, and then I'll be happy to get some questions. Thank you.
Lovely, Simona. Thank you so much for an informative talk, and look forward to that. So just a reminder to everybody to pop your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll go through those at the end of the session. So I am going to be sharing Tom's slides, so I'm just going to share them for you now. Tom, hopefully you can see those.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Okay.
Eileen.
So Tom will just say next slide to me as we go through that, if that's okay.
Thanks very much, Giva Corja. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Tom Kern. I'm an associate professor in the School of Biosystems and Food Engineering at UCD, and I'm also vice principal for internationalization in the College of Engineering and Architecture. And I'm also a member of the Institute of Food and Health here in UCD. So I'm delighted to be giving this presentation today. So as you heard from Simona there, she's gone into the technical details about upcycling food residues. So I'm going to now cover some education resources that we've developed in a European project that I coordinate. It's called Bio. It's quite difficult to pronounce. So bio is for bioeconomy, and bio being the Irish word for alive. And we won a competitive bid a couple of years ago to run this project, which is funded by the European Commission. And we've developed these bioeconomy education resources, and I'll highlight in a few cases where we've focused on food waste in terms of our stories on our learning resources. On the top right-hand side, you will see an image of a girl called Bio and her dog Raja. So they will appear in the slides ahead. So next slide, please. So just a summary of the project. It's funded by Horizon Europe, the European Commission's funding program. And it's ran from November 2022 and just finished last month. And the objective was to develop and pilot a bioeconomy education program in schools from primary school upwards, and also to highlight innovative governance opportunities to introduce new content such as bioeconomy into schools. And so, for example, we were able to influence government policy in Ireland recently, where in the new Leaving Certificate subject called Climate Action and Sustainable Development, bioeconomy is now a topic within that. So that subject, Climate Action, Sustainable Development, will be piloted in 43 selected schools in Ireland starting in September 2025, with the first examination on the Leaving Certificate in 2027, and it will be rolled out countrywide afterwards. So we're delighted to see that, how we were able to influence policy in introducing this topic of bioeconomy. So it's all about sustainable use of biological resources. Next slide, please. So the consortium for the Bio project involved 15 partners in 10 European countries. There's a website there, biobio.eu, if you'd like to have a look at that afterwards. So in Ireland, we had UCD as the leaders, Leeds University, another partner, which led on the education programme, and Antashka Green Schools was another important partner in Ireland. and their umbrella body, the international body, Foundation for Environmental Education, FEE, which you will see stamped on all those green flags outside the green schools. They were also a partner, and they're rolling out education programs on the environment, like green schools, eco schools, in some countries it's called. So they're in over 80 countries worldwide. And in their recent Global Action Days, FEE, our partner foundation for education and the environment, they were able to connect with 1,000 students and their teachers. Sorry, 1 million, I should say, 1 million students and their teachers worldwide. So it's a very impressive international organization. So we move on to the next slide, please. So now I'm just going to take you through 3 comics that we developed as part of our storytelling within the project. And we want to explain the term bioeconomy in the different concepts. And we start off with this first comic called Finding Bio. So we felt if we were able to reach the younger audience, the children in primary schools, then maybe they would influence their parents and guardians as well to spread the story about bioeconomy. So this first comic was actually funded by the Institute of Food and Health in UCD, and it's called Finding Bio. And just in one of the first images, the story briefly is about this girl, a teenager, who's going to UCD Institute of Food and Health to do some work experience. And in the first scene here on the right-hand side of the slide, you will see she's telling her loyal friend, her dog Raja, that she's off to UCD today. And in the background here, there's a subtle message about food waste. So you'll see her cereal bowl and some orange juice left behind her. So again, it's a subtle message about food waste there. And on the top right-hand side, you can see the QR code if you'd like to download any of the resources, including these comics. So we'll move on to the next slide, please. So here in this first comic, there's an image as shown in the slide, and here we're introducing the 5 themes in the project to explain the bioeconomy. So food loop, some people might call it the food chain. We might be more familiar with that technical term. We call it the food loop, and again, it's showing the idea of what impact we have on the environment by the food we eat, and if we have any residues left over, what are the options for that in terms of maybe composting or anaerobic digestion to get biogas and energy out of it. And Life Below Water is about the marine environment, and blue bioeconomy. Forestry is another topic. All of our lesson plans that we developed are focused on outdoor learning, and then the overarching theme is interconnectedness, what the impact of our actions are on the environment, on food production, etc. So next slide, please. So this was the second comic we developed called Back to the Future of Bio and Raja, a tale from the early bioeconomy. So this was a time travel adventure featuring engineering, education, and archaeology. So we connected with the archaeology professors in UCD, and on the image on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a roundhouse. So this was the type of house that people lived in over 1,000 years ago in Ireland, and they were building about 30,000 of them roughly around Ireland every year. And this image here is actually in the current modern UCD campus. So you can go and see this courtesy of the archaeology experts. They've rebuilt a house as it was created over 1,000 years ago. So it's made from hazel rods and the straw from the oats. So again, we want to show the message that they're using all of their resources and cutting down on food waste, particularly by the oats and the straw there on the roof. Then on the right-hand side, we want to show in the time travel period, the main characters go back in time and they meet Bridget there, St. Bridget. And it's a scene of what might be typical of what we've seen maybe 1,000 years ago, where people in the background there on the right-hand side are building their houses from the hazel rods. Also in the background there, you see 3 people playing hurling, and it's again showing the connection with nature and use of biological resources. So the balls that time, or the sliotar's, the balls that we use for hurling, was made from cow hair and horse hair rolled up in a ball. And we also want to show here that livestock was very important, especially every household typically would have 5 or 6 cows at that time. And we're also having messages here about pollinators here. You can see with the wildflowers, a lot more wildflowers back there. Just a small thing to mention here as well is that the slight difference in the color of the sky there and the coloring between the left-hand image, the modern UCD, and 1,000 years ago. We wanted to help people with learning difficulties and to understand what was happening there. So we changed the color to use a sepia color there. And we also used open dyslexic font for all the text in the comic there. So move to the next slide, please. So in the third comic, which we launched recently, we were highlighting the plight of the curlew, which is a bird which is on its way to extinction, unfortunately, in Ireland. So there has been a 96% reduction in the curlew numbers over the last 30 years. And there's a number of factors involved there. And again, from a message about food waste there, we're on the right-hand side, we're highlighting to pick up your litter, especially where the wetlands are, which would be the habitat that's used by the curlew. Another kind of subtle message we have in here is that we're connecting the bioeconomy in nature with heritage and the Irish language and culture as well. So on the top left-hand of the image, we have the first president of Ireland at the side and Lady Gregory, famous folklorist. So you can download any of these resources to look into it in more details. We also have explanatory notes to show how we developed the comic and the reasons why we put all these stories together. Next slide, please. So we took this comic a step further. We actually developed an animated video, and we then got our students in UCD, the engineering students and primary education students in Maynooth to collaborate together, and they created a puppet show. So that's the image on the right-hand side, the puppets that they created. So you can see these videos on YouTube on our Bio Project YouTube channel. So we have highlighted a number of other outputs there as well. We have the Chocolate Chase board game. And if you move to the next slide, please. We have the Bio app, and that's a map-enabled app, and it's free to download. It can also be customized by educators, teachers, or maybe scout leaders, and you can set it up yourself for free using local routes with points of interest. So we developed this for use with the bioeconomy. So we've developed one route connected to the UCD Woodland Walk, and if you download and search for the UCD Woodland Walk, there's an interactive quiz based on various trees around the campus. So next slide, please. So we also have a BioBuzz newsletter. You can subscribe to this for free. It's written in accessible language, puzzles and jokes. There's a Bioeconomy Matters podcast that we're highlighting there as well. And we've also set up a bioeconomy education and sustainability teachers network called BEST, BEST. So you can subscribe to that also. So the next slide, please. And just to let you know, a legacy of the project is that we're now moving on to the phase of a new project called BioOrbic. It's the Research Ireland Centre for Bioeconomy. We'll be continuing with our resources on education and public engagement. And we've developed an aspect called bioculture, culture being the Irish word for culture. So connecting bioeconomy with language, heritage, and culture. And there's some songs there that you can see on YouTube as well. So next slide, please. So just to finish off there, just to remind people that there's an opportunity to meet us at the UC Festival to talk more about circular bioeconomy education. We'll be highlighting the comics, puppets, virtual reality experience as well, the BioBio app, and again, the lesson plans, which you can download from our website. In the middle of this slides, we jumped over very quickly, but there is a slide there if anybody wants to see it. on just an overview of our project outcomes, and it's available on our website as well. So thanks very much for your attention.